My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And again, we have a special guest today.
Heidi Mancini, Joe's
Yes.
girlfriend.
And Lola's mom.
And Lola's mommy.
As you can see, we have the spirit of Lola in the background. It took me like 20 minutes to set that up.
The pug eyeballs.
Does it look cool?
It looks like E.T. sort of. I think you told me that's what they based the character off of.
Well, they did.
And the gremlins, too, because if you think about that
so.
cute gremlin, he kind of looked like a pug mixture of something.
Yeah, there's something about human beings with they look at the eyes and the size and the distance apart or something makes every human being attracted to it.
How can you say no to those eyes? Seriously, I couldn't.
You can't. Here, look, get close.
You could never say no to her. She'd just give you
Oh,
those.
was it? Oh, I covered it
and then
up.
as she got older, she'd do the slapping Joe and scratching him. What is it? It's two paws, and then if you didn't pay attention, then she'd get the one toenail and just.
Yeah.
And she taught that to Nelson because he's doing it now.
Yep, he's getting good at it. So today I want to talk about, obviously, Lola the pug. I don't know if this is going to be our last show. Probably is for this subject because Lola died October 20th, and that was 18 days ago, and she is officially home now, so it makes sense to do a, I guess you would call a cycle of life show where...
Memorial.
Yeah, kind of a memorial, so we're kind of finishing this up, but being that I'm a human being and I get feelings, so I'm going to reserve the right to talk about this whenever I feel like it. So that's the way I think about it. Although for those out there who are getting a little bored with the 5th or 6th show now that we've done on this in a row, I have other shows written. I just didn't feel the need to put them out now to get in the way of these shows. I didn't think it would be right. I thought it might even be a little bit disrespectful. So I decided not to do that, but I do have other shows written. And again, so this is video journaling. Starting off with this and continuing, it's a way to deal with my grief, and hopefully somebody out there relates to it. Do you have any current feelings right now over the last 18 days?
Well, yeah, I still miss her. You know, I still think about her. And then, you know, you come in the house and it's quiet. But I'll be honest with you, since we brought her ashes home, I feel better. Because I feel like she's back home with us, like whatever form that is. I mean, obviously her spirit went to Rainbow Bridge with all her other little furry friends. But personally, I just feel I don't know, I just feel like I got some free time too. I don't know if it's because of, you know, I don't know. It's just
yeah, me too. I feel like I have a lot of extra free time. Not that I want it.
But it's like it's a
but it's just kind of there.
Something's missing. That's the feeling. Something's missing. And then the boys, you know, they're still kind of weird. You know, they're moping around. So I don't know if they're moping around or, you know, I think maybe they did have anxiety too, and it seemed a little bit on the hyper side some days. And maybe animals can sense when the dog they knew she was sick. You know, they knew that. Yeah, and you wonder if all during that time that we're taking care of her and we're doing everything for her and all that they're not sensing that there's something going on with her, and they're always constantly anxious, where since she's passed away, they both just seem kind of like, I don't know, mellow. They're not the same dogs.
Yeah, I don't know the answer either. I'm not a dog whisperer, so it's kind of like, yeah, like what you said could be very true. Their anxiety level is actually down, you know, because Lola's not sick and in the house. On the other hand, it could be a little bit of depression. Mm-hmm. I know that's the way I feel. I mean, the way it feels like in the beginning, it was like just this massive storm, all clouds, no sun. Now, listen, I don't feel great. There's times of the day that are really horrible. Lola's very noisy too, and I noticed that there's no sound anymore. You know, it's kind of weird.
They're always like.
Yeah, it's like having a hot water bottle that vibrates.
And then after that, you'd get the bark. You know, she'd wake up and she'd bark, and then she'd eat, and the same thing. You'd walk in, no matter what time of day, there was always noise.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's super, super quiet.
Very. So overall, I am starting to, you know, just like you would say, the stereotypical thing about roses, right, is the longer the time goes on, the more you remember the roses and the less you remember the thorns. Now, let's be honest, there was no thorns with Lola, but there was a lot of sadness when she died, or, you know, I was thinking of if she was sick or if I did well enough, and you start going over that, and I could say that I don't have really any guilt about how you know, my actions were. But, you know, a loss of any life, especially a really good, caring life, is difficult for me. But I think, on the other hand, that's what makes life so important, is that there's a uniqueness to each and every living thing, and that's why it needs to be handled with care.
You know, what I think was unique about that little dog is that she had so many furry friends growing up. You know, 5 of them, we put those pets down. They were big dogs, chows and labs, and yet she got away with a lot because she was so small. And I mean, she would run around the dogs and just bark in their face and jump on them accidentally. You know, she'd jump off the couch and, you know, land on one of the dogs, and she just seemed to always be having a good time, you know, with all or they seemed to be enjoying her, but she always was in charge. You know, that's what always
for sure
cracked me up, is this little pug's in charge of these like full breed dogs that are like supposed to be the meanest dogs ever, and she just would bark or do something and they would know, you know. She'd growl at her food. Remember when the boys would try to go after her food?
Yeah, they'd back off immediately.
And they'd back off. She'd start growling, and the little growl they have, and the big dogs would be like, oh, okay, she's not worth it. You know, we're not going to kill her for her food. But I think she felt she was a big girl, and she was crazy right up until maybe 2017, and the energy that she had all the time for
actually
walking
even a
and
lot
playing.
more than that. Only up to about a year ago, she was still climbing up on the couch and stuff like that. It's kind of
I
funny.
think what happened, I swear, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think because it was right after she fell off the back of the couch, remember, and then she got diagnosed with a cancer. I don't know if that was part of it, but that was the weirdest thing ever, because neither one of us saw it, but we heard it. I felt like I heard her skull hit the floor. She just kind of rolled off the back of the couch, which
yeah, she lost her balance. She never did that before.
Very, you know, across like a cat. She always jumped up on the top of the couch. She thought she was a cat too, I think.
Yeah.
She didn't even know the cat we have now.
So like we said, Lola is home, and well, let me show you this first, because there's been a lot of really nice people. I don't even know how they do these memes, and they seem to care, and they do a really good job too. So let me show you this, if you can see that. You see that? That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, let me get a picture.
Forever loved. That's from an unknown person. I don't know who did that. This is Lola's bowl right there, really small because she was small. And this is her ashes right there. It's a nice looking urn, right? That's a lock of her fur right there, and that's her actual paw print. And there's her name. And they sent us this too of the poem, The Rainbow Bridge. I'm not going to read that because I think pretty much everybody is familiar with that, so I don't know if I'd help out anybody's life by reading that. I do have a poem for later though. Maybe I'll read that one because I think people are less familiar with it. Did I show this one? No. Here's my favorite. Kind of see through here.
It's a glass.
It says Lola. It's backwards on this thing here. Lola here, and again, this is her actual paw print, which I really like that.
Ava wants to get a tattoo of that on her, to add to her tattoo collection.
Awesome.
She's here too, by the way, but she's
behind the scenes, literally behind the camera.
She's she's behind the camera, and she was, you know, knew Lola too since she was a puppy, because when Joe and I first started dating, you know, again, we told you the story about the purchase of the pug, and $1,600 later, we had this little thing that we're co-parenting. She goes, so Joe says, oh, you know, let her stay at the house with Ava when she had her wisdom teeth pulled out for her braces. And from then it was like, guess what, Joe, you're not getting your dog back, because this kid fell in love with the dog, so she'd have to spend a couple nights. Joe goes, okay, we'll let her spend a couple nights there, and then she can come back to my place. And then we ended up with the other dogs. You know, they wanted to stay over because everybody was getting buddies. But so Ava was, she was very much part of Ava's life growing up.
Yeah, there's good pictures of that too. One of the things I think of when a life comes to an end, I mean, it's the one life I can prove, right? A lot of people believe in life after death and all that. I don't know. I mean, who cares what I believe? I can't prove it, so I'm not really helping anybody by talking about that. But one of the things I do think about is, what type of lessons have you learned maybe from her life or the way you connected to her in your life. Is there anything that you can take from that?
Yeah, I feel, I don't know, I know how I feel. You go ahead and tell me first. I want to start crying.
You're allowed to cry. Like,
I think for me, it was
okay.
like I never felt, at times I thought I didn't have enough time with her. And then I thought back and I said, yes, I did. I had, when she was little, there was a lot of fun times, and we were together a lot. It was the last couple of years that I feel that I wasn't available when she was at her sickest point in her life, because I was working during COVID and all that, and you were her primary, caretaker. And I think for me, it just says the whole story again. Where did the time go? And all of a sudden it's 13 years later, and you're going, where did 13 years go? So, I mean, the takeaway for me, and even with the boys that we have here, the 2 boy dogs, I'm starting to give them a little bit more attention and hugs in the morning and kisses and things, because I feel, you just get busy and you forget, and time is always going to be there. It's just, what are you doing with that time? And I feel, maybe being in the present more and what's actually going on in the here and now, rather than, I worry about everything, the past, present, future, whatever.
Yeah.
So
no, that's
for me, it was just, God, where did 13 years go? And I was just said, I hope I was a good, dog mom.
Yep. You want to live in the present. I'm gonna tell you what lessons I've learned, but I just realized something. Can you do me a favor and reach over and grab my pick over there? You can see it, right? I just want to show everybody this.
Oh, that's cute.
So here's my guitar pick. I kind of suck as a guitar player, but I try. But this gives me a lot of inspiration right here. I don't know if you could see it. That's a guitar pick. Oh, let me see.
Oh, that's cute.
That is a pug pick. Get it? Anyway, we'll put that back
cute.
later. So what did I learn? I've actually thought about this a lot. I've been thinking about this a lot, not just after she died, but before she died and before that. I think this is really strange, is that I think sometimes it takes the help of a dog to help a person be fully human. That sounds strange, doesn't it? Go with this for a second. Number one, I'm 56 years old, so I kind of live in a different time frame than a lot of people do. I know times are changing, but you have to realize I was born in 1965. It was a lot different. My father was Sicilian. My grandfather was Sicilian. My grandfather on my other side was Cuban. When you talk about masculinity, the stereotypical masculinity, that was it. You want to talk about being raised with, you want to be a man, it was all about don't be emotional, don't be affectionate. And I don't mean just with words. You don't be affectionate by touching. That's kind of like more of a feminine thing to do. And I know some people right there are going, that's so wrong. Go with me. I said I was born in 1965. This is, I can't run away from that. So I was born into a situation and raised into a situation, not from my own family, but society in general does not look kindly upon men who are more emotional, speaking about their feelings. And obviously human beings have feelings, but heck, if I was ever allowed to talk about them or show them. So you get really good, right? And you learn these sayings like walk softly, but carry a big stick. What does that mean? Yeah, of course, in the military, another Sicilian,
He used to go after the grandkids, not to change it, but he used to go after the kids and say, I'll get you with this. And we're all like, yeah, he's not going to do anything.
So for those out there who don't know, walk softly basically means be quiet and shut up. Don't complain, don't say anything. You're hurting, you're the only one who knows. But carry a big stick. In other words, if you need to do some type of violence, you need to get something done, you need to advocate for yourself and your family, you're all about it, you're the first one. And so be strong physically, be strong emotionally, but their definition of strong emotionally was to not show any emotion. Unless, of course, it was anger or rage, then all bets are off, because supposedly that's quote-unquote manly. The other part is that you always wanted to attract women by being the strong, silent type. And back then, listen, these things go around in a circle. Women liked strong, silent types. So you became more and more of that. And then you start to realize when you get older that to properly love yourself and love other people, that you need a lot more of a wider palette of emotions and feelings to be a real human being. Then you start to question yourself. Are you capable of loving another human being in a way that makes them feel loved? And most of the time the answer is no. It's like asking somebody to do calculus when they were only barely taught to do simple addition and subtraction. So it's asking a lot. So you go through life like that. But then you get a little dog that needs you 100%, that is completely dependent upon you, that's totally loyal to you. And then what you realize is that you're a pre-nurturing person. I can actually do that. I'm not as introverted as I thought. I can actually sing. Not when people are around, but only when she's around. And guess what? I'm quite the affectionate guy. Who knew? Now, so what do you learn from this? What I would also say is that you learn transferable skills. Because if you can be empathetic, compassionate, caring, be verbally open about how you feel, if you can be physically and emotionally and verbally affectionate with a dog, why is this? Here's my answer, because I thought about this for a long time. It's because you don't fear being rejected. You don't you don't fear being abandoned. Why would I feel that? Because I was raised in a way that a whole society said, I want you to have feelings, but heck, if you show them, I'm going to run away because it scares me. So you learn that. And then with the dog, you learn to access this whole other side of your personality that you never thought you had. And then she dies. And it's one of those things that you need to take that. Like, what's the lesson? The lesson is everything that she gave me. And to be fair, other dogs as well. But today we're talking about Lola. But I think every dog has taught me that a little bit. Lola more than most, though, because she was a little itsy bitsy and she was a lap dog and all that. And she had a huge amount of physical ailments, before she died. So a lot more was asked of me. One of the things when you feel that you're not going to be abandoned or not be rejected and you're accepted for who you are, and somebody doesn't say, oh, you're not as affectionate as I want you to be, so I'm going to go for somebody else, that type of thing, and you feel comfortable, it makes you feel good about yourself. And it mirrors back to you that you're not a bad person, and you start to actually love yourself more. And this is what happens in relationships, even with human beings, is that when we see another person who accepts us for who we are, and they end up bringing out the best in us because we feel open enough to be ourselves, we start to say to this other person, I need you, I love you, I want you. In fact, maybe that's true, but a lot of it is that you're starting to fall in love with yourself. You're starting to actually enjoy who you are as a human being instead of hiding it and thinking that the parts of you that were dark, or the parts of you that you didn't want other people to see, or the parts of you that you thought were not attractive to others or not attractive to society, you have an open space to feel safe, and you open up and you go, oh my God, I'm not a terrible person. I'm a good person. It's like in that Christmas movie, I keep forgetting, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, when that Rudolph is being made fun of by everybody. And that one girl, I forgot her name, but that doe, I guess you would call her, right? A female deer. Clarice says, you're cute. And he's like, I'm cute. And he like jumps, and he flies. It's like, that's the way it feels when somebody accepts you. Unfortunately, sometimes, or I shouldn't say unfortunately, I think all dogs do this, is that through the help of a dog, it makes you, or it gives you the opportunity to feel like you're finally fully human. And you can take all of those skills and move it to every area of your life. And I think that's probably the most important thing for me that I was thinking. And I've been thinking about that a huge amount. Think any of that makes sense?
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things that you always say is because you never had your own kids. You know, you just feel like you.
That's true.
You don't know if you could do it. You always, you know, you don't know what you can do till you have to. And it's the same thing with this, you know, the doggy.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. This is something else I was thinking of. And I know there's going to be people out there that say, well, I don't know anything. It's possible that people out there say that that's not true. I hope it's not true for you, because it's happened to me. There were times in my life when I would have young girls around me. I had a niece that was very young, and I would take her to the movies, I would take her to the park, I'd go for a walk. I had kids, stepchildren, that would want to hold my hand, and we would go to the park or do whatever, or go to wherever place, whatever it is. And I got to tell you, the looks, when you are a man and you're not with a woman, again, I wasn't a single man, but let's just say I was what would you say? I was a single man at that time. I was by myself. And you're walking with a young girl, you get stares and looks, because everybody's thinking, who's the pedophile? Like, and it's, I know it's funny, but it's not funny.
It's not funny.
Because as a man, I am a good, nurturing, caring guy. And I can't believe our society looks at men like that and says, there's got to be something wrong. You know, and then somebody is there and they take a picture of you. Why? Because they might want to identify you later if there's a problem. You know, like if they really wanted to take a picture of you because they thought you were handsome, they would say, sir, can I take a picture? Right. But they sneak one of these when you're at the dog park with a small child. And it's like, listen, I'm not complaining. Being a guy, I'm totally fine with it. But that part of being a guy sucks, is that people think you cannot be a good, empathetic, caring, nurturing human being. That doesn't make any sense to me. So when you have a dog,
well, and I think
it changes.
People have talked about why is it always seen that men have such a difficult time when they lose a pet. And, you know, the whole thing, you know, man's best friend. But I think that's true, because I think men can do exactly what you just said. They can be totally, fully vulnerable. You can cry in front of the dog if you want. You can talk to the dog and all this kind of stuff about your feelings, and you know you're not going to be judged. The dog's not going to talk back and say you lose or be quiet, you know, that type of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think the reason that men seem to always be closer to, especially when a dog passes away. I mean, they're attentive as much as they can be, but you see it then, and it makes you wonder if that could be part of it too, that they lost somebody that they could totally be.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I'm glad we're kind of talking through this. This is why I like to have a partner talking back and forth, because, you know, as we're working through this, I think that that's true. I think maybe there is some truth to that, not just for me. I know it's my truth, but maybe there's other people out there that think the same way. Is that because men are really not allowed to be full parents as well? Like nobody, I mean, maybe times have changed, don't get me wrong, but as a man growing up, you're with a young girl and people look at you really weird. You can't be fully you. You know, with a dog, I could do anything and be all of that to myself. I could sing, I could smile, I could cry, I could do all of these things, and it never stopped me from being a tough guy. Whereas a lot of times with society or with women in general, they tend to get very nervous when you have a little bit of a breakdown, when you're not at your top level, because they're thinking, oh, this guy can't take care of me, or this guy can't handle his emotions. And it makes them nervous. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I think that's part of society, and you kind of fall into that where you learn that. You think that that's true, and it's never true. Something else I was thinking of. As we move on and try to work through this, a question becomes, with as much pain as you feel when a dog dies, is do you get another one? You know, what's the thought process on this? And before we both answer that question, I want to read this poem, because I really like this poem. And this would be, let's see if I can get through it.
Take over.
That'll be,
Maybe.
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, you can tell, what you're telling me is that you can actually withhold your emotions more than me. That's interesting in itself, I think. But, so the name of this poem is called A Dog's Last Will and Testament, written from, it would be the point of view of a dog who had already passed on and is talking to his parents, or owners if you like that term. I don't like that term myself, but before humans die, they write their last will and testament. They give their home and all they have to those they leave behind. If with my paws I could do the same, this is what I would ask. To a poor and lonely stray, I'd give up my happy home, my bowl and cozy bed, soft pillows and all my toys. The lap which I loved so much, the tender, loving touch, the hand that stroked my fur, and sweet voice which called my name. I would will to the sad, scared shelter dog, the place I had in my human's loving heart, of which there seemed no bounds. So, when I die, please do not say, I will never have a pet again, for the loss and pain is more than I can stand. Instead, go and find an unloved dog, one whose life has held no joy or hope, and give my place to him. This is the only thing that I can give, the love I left behind. This is my inheritance, my will, and last, my testament. So with that, what are your thoughts about getting another dog sometime in the future?
I don't have a problem getting a dog in the future. I mean, to me, I said the other day, I can't believe we keep signing up for this. I said that my heart is like broken in a million pieces with all the dogs that passed away and people over the years. And yet, you know, keep getting another dog. I have a cat. We have a cat. You know.
Yep.
I just think, and look at Nelson. If we wouldn't have, you know, we adopted him. He was what, a year old when we got him, and he came from a bad place. So look at what a good boy he turned into be. So.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people say that, you know, that they don't want to go out and get another dog right away,
well, it hurts.
And
they
they won't. You know, a lot of people put like a 6-month time thing on it, and then they eventually get that, you know, another pet.
My view. I think I need a little bit more time, so I'm not focused on Lola's stuff. But overall, like I said, I think in one of the shows is that part of what grief is that it's a lot of excess love with no place to go. I feel like I have a lot to give, and I feel like there's a lot of dogs that need that. And so why would I withhold on that? To take it out of a living thing perspective, it's like when you pay for your electricity in your house, right? You have the power source. If a light bulb goes out, it's no fault of the light bulb. That's the end of the expiration date. You don't sit there in darkness forever, do you? I don't think. At some point, you got to replace the light bulb. And it's not that. It's because I didn't die. I'm still capable of care and love and taking care of something. And those are qualities that are desperately needed, I believe. For me, I don't know how long it's going to take. It might actually be a short amount of time, relatively, because again, what Lola has taught me is that, you know, love is love. She's gone, and that's hurtful. But I do think the lessons that dogs give you are so great, in that the pain when they leave is massive, but the pain is bad because of how much love you had. So that just sells you again on that of how important they are. As a matter of fact, just for fun, I was thinking about a little girl dog of what I would name her, and I thought, Adrian. It's a human name, and it was always supportive of Rocky. And I thought, if there's anything that a man needs in this life, it's an Adrian. I thought of some other names too. I thought of Blondie. Blondie.
I like Nora.
You know, it has to be a nice, cute girl's name, but anyway, obviously I'm partial to a girl. I think that's all I want to say for tonight. Anything that you would like to add?
No, I just think people, like you said, everybody has their grieving or amount of time they want to grieve. And then some people will replace the pet and some won't, but I think everybody just does what, you know, they think is right for them at the time, but.
I just thought of one more thing I want to add. In a previous show, I talked about how we elevate dogs to a level higher than human beings, but when a dog dies, all of a sudden, we don't give people the time and space to grieve like they should, because all of a sudden, at that moment, people are more important than dogs. I don't believe that. I believe who's ever more important to you in your particular life is most important. What I want to add today real quick, it's because it happened here in Las Vegas. Every morning I drive past Rainbow and Hacienda early in the morning. On Rainbow and Trop, which is one street over, a guy on the Raiders was driving 156 miles an hour and drunk and killed a lady in her car and killed a dog. And I was going to bring out all these tweets and stuff, but most of them actually, they mention the dog as well. So I want to use that as proof as well about how much we care about dogs in our society and how important they are. Because in almost all the reports, it's mentioned that a yellow lab died in this accident. And some of them actually said a yellow lab died and a 23-year-old woman died as well. Some of them mentioned the dog first. I'm not here to judge on that. All I'm saying is again, it makes my point that in our society, we do elevate dogs to a level. And I think they should be even elevated to an even higher level than that. Certainly more than some famous guy who makes $1 million because he plays football. I don't have a lot of empathy there. But I do have empathy for the woman and the dog. So unless you got anything to say, we'll finish it up.
I think I'm
Well, thanks for listening. This has been the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe if you think it had any value to you. And I will be back with some other shows with some different content very soon. Thank you.